Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco dish out on the movies.
Movies.
And today we are doing movie one of our week of ghost movies.
Movies.
Well,
but this
no,
is
wait a
movie
minute.
two.
We've done movie two.
We've done movie one.
We also watched The Ghost and Mrs. Muir.
Yeah, so is the title of this movie supposed to be taking off on that?
Not really.
Like in a comedic way of just like calling it Ghost and Mr. Chicken instead of Ghost and Mrs. Muir?
I don't know if they were thinking of that or
I
not.
think it is.
Well, anyway, this movie is like, I don't know what you would call it. It's exactly the opposite of the other one. The other one was kind of a romance, little bit of a mystery, mainly a romance.
Well, this has some romance.
And then this movie is comedy. You can't take it seriously. Well, there is a serious murder, an unsolved murder.
I did think that this movie was very scary as a child.
Now, I didn't know about this movie for years, and then we came across it years later, and I thought it was pretty good. It's funny. It's just fun. It's very light and very funny, and it was done in 1966, and Don Knotts is in it, and also two people who worked on the Andy Griffith Show did the movie. Made the movie. So I would say probably 99% of the cast is from the Andy Griffith Show. I did see the newspaper editor and one of the women in the what would you call it, the Psychic Society.
And Otis.
She was
Otis.
Both of those two people were in the Bewitched show.
Otis.
And Otis was in it.
Clara.
Clara was in the very beginning, and then I didn't really see her much after that.
Another person is actually from Leave It to Beaver.
Oh, that man.
And that was Judd. I have to redo this because Safi fucked me up. She didn't turn her phone off like usual. I'm gonna have to start taking that away from her before doing a review.
I wasn't even looking at it.
That's irrelevant. So anyways, this movie, it basically feels like an Andy Griffith Show episode without Andy. It feels like a spin-off or something. And so that's kind of the funny thing is that, Don Knotts, he wanted to make movies and, he made a huge mistake, probably the biggest mistake of his career, which is choosing to sign a contract so that he could just make all these movies instead of doing more Andy Griffith Show. And it was stupid because obviously any movie that he would ever do was never going to come close to the Andy Griffith Show.
No.
And so he kind of screwed that up because he kind of ruined the Andy Griffith Show a little bit. And he also made a bunch of terrible movies that most of them are trash. This is the only one where it's that's okay, that's good, but is it really worth not doing Andy Griffith though? This movie, which would you have rather had? Andy Griffith Show go on for 20 seasons with Don Knotts in every one of them, or would you rather have this movie and all those other pieces of shit?
Well, probably the first.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Because I don't know why it would be. The movie was very light, and they made this little story, but it wasn't something you could take seriously.
No.
The Andy Griffith Show, despite it being a comedy, there were some serious situations, but they kind of made it lighthearted, but they still, you could tell the seriousness of it. Like escaped convicts who were weaponized, and they always got their weapons away, by tripping them or coming up behind them and surprising them, really easy, but it was still serious. And then there were there were very endearing characters, and this was there wasn't any really. The only characters really he played this character of Luther, but you kept looking at the characters. You're thinking, oh, there's Barney, and there's.
Well, yeah, especially because he wears that same suit. You know, that gray suit with the hat and the little, like, is it a bow tie? Like, he wears the exact same suit that he wore on the Andy Griffith Show. And so it's like, you know, like, obviously, like, if, I don't know, like, if a character like that wore, like, a wardrobe that they wore in another movie they were really famous in, you would think of that role, and it would be hard to differentiate, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, though, he wasn't playing a law enforcement officer in this movie, which was probably a good idea since it'd just be way too much like Andy Griffith without Andy Griffith. He played, well, he worked for a newspaper, and he was really the typesetter, but then he was also, if they needed some filler, he would put something together, write it or whatever, and this isn't anything you get credit for. They just publish it in there. It's like, let's say, a tip for the day, you know, like how to clean a stain, an ink stain or something. I mean, just, or a historical fact. And it would be a few lines long, and you put it at the bottom of an article where there was space, and he would provide that. But mainly he was a typesetter, but he wanted to be a reporter.
Yeah.
And that's what this is all about, him reporting something that happened. And then,
I think it would be hilarious just to imagine Don Knotts, his character, going to, like, the Middle East and reporting on the terrorists.
Well, he had to do.
That'd be really hilarious.
To do the story.
He'd get fucked up.
You have to do your own story. This small town newspaper, it's supposed to be like a place called Rachel, Kansas, and you had to not only write the story and get all the facts, but you also had to do the photographs. And he had that old kind of flash camera where you have to screw the flash bulb into the place where it goes, and then you take it out, and then you put another one in, and it's like the Jimmy Stewart Rear Window movie. I think he had a little bit better equipment, but still the same thing with the flash. They hadn't developed that technology yet, where it was kind of backward. And so he had all that stuff. He had everything to do to be a reporter. But he was, because something came at the beginning.
Okay, let's just not go through everything. We're not going to do that. That's boring.
We get to see that he has everything that he needs to.
Okay, you're still doing it. And so I would say that one of the issues with this movie is not only that you can't take Don Knotts seriously, but you also can't take... there's supposed to be some kind of mystery to the movie of, like, who really killed this woman, that we never get to see her in any flashback or anything. You know, she's just some random woman. You just see her face on a painting, basically. And it's just, I didn't really care about the mystery at all, because I thought, there's not really many possible culprits here. No. There's literally two people. There's the former gardener who works with Barney. We'll just call him Barney, and because that's the character that he is
now at the paper.
And you have him, and then you have the owner of the house who wants to have it torn down, and he's related. He's related to that woman. He's like her nephew or something. I don't know.
I didn't get the relationship.
But like you pick one of those two. That's either one of those killed this woman that we never saw before, and it's like I really don't care. Like I couldn't care less. Like there's a lot more important things to worry about in the world. Because you could just take your pick. It's either that guy or that guy. A good mystery would give you like a lot of choices and make you like really think and get into the clues and things and the investigation. But that's not what this movie does, because really this movie's supposed to be kind of like a horror comedy about like you know, and that's another thing too, is that the title is very misleading and kind of false advertising, because there is no ghost in the movie.
No.
Except at the very end, and even at the end it's just kind of played off as like a joke, and like, you know, this probably really isn't happening, we're just screwing around here, but like, there is no ghost in this movie. And so there's none of that. Like, you think about what they could have done with this movie. You think about, they could have spent that whole movie in the haunted house with ghosts and stuff, or it just takes place in one night type of thing. But instead, it's this kind of mediocre, like, it almost feels like an Adam Sandler movie, like in the 60s. You know how Adam Sandler, he just makes these movies where, like, you know, even in the Adam Sandler movies, he's always with a woman who's, you know, more attractive than a woman he could actually get. And then he's always with, like, the same people that he always works with. And this is, like, the same thing where, like, Don Knotts, he's getting a girl that he probably wouldn't be able to get in real life, unfortunately. And then,
but he does get the girl. They get married.
That's what I said, Safi.
Oh, I didn't.
I said in real life.
Oh.
I said that that's like what Adam Sandler does, where every movie Adam Sandler hooks up with a girl. And in this movie also, you have all those people from the Andy Griffith Show. So it's like that same type of thing, like working with friends and stuff like that, and just having fun and not really taking it seriously. But the problem is that this movie is, even though it's okay, it's good. I give it, like, in terms of letters, I give it like a B or a B plus if I was being generous.
Yeah, I agree.
But this movie is already, like, demonstrating bigger problems that the rest of his movies that he makes will have. And I think that it's sad because, you know, obviously watching it years later now, you just think about, we could have gotten more Andy Griffith Show, and we could have gotten more Barney, and instead we had to get all these terrible movies that really suck. Like, you know, a couple of weeks ago or something, you know, Safi, you saw in the background, you saw one of his terrible movies, you know, the,
Mr. Limpet or something?
Yeah, The Incredible Mr. Limpet. Like, that movie is a gigantic piece of shit. And it's like a Debbie Downer, where it's like about a depressed guy, and he basically commits suicide so that he can become a fish. And it's like, that's really, really bizarre.
And then he becomes a hero by helping the military get subs.
But that's
German subs.
That's really, really weird. And, like, I'm sorry, but, like,
that was good.
That is weird. And like, that's what the type of stuff that we got after, like, this movie or whatever. So, you know, there's kind of like a dark cloud hanging over this movie. Right, Safi?
Yeah, pretending future failures.
But what else do you have to say about them? And let's talk about the love interest. The love interest has boobs.
Her name is Alma. And she's with his fellow reporter guy who's named Ollie, and he's tall, dark, and handsome.
He's the worst because
he's a jackass.
He's so stereotypical, and the thing that he does with his voice, you can, like, tell when he's talking that he doesn't naturally talk like that, and he's, like, purposefully, like, doing something with his face so that he can talk like a gentlemanly person or something. And, like, he's the worst. Right, Safi?
Yeah, well, it looks like that Alma is his girl, and they're together all the time, and they go out to eat, and he picks her up, or she picks him up to go to work, and, you know, all the time they're together. And so, but Luther seems he's really interested in her, and then she starts acting like she's interested in Luther, which, why? And,
there's literally no reason that she's interested in him. Like, it's not like they're not like childhood friends. They don't hang out all the time. It's just like she randomly gets interested in Don Knotts.
You gotta wonder what he was like in real life as a love interest, because he's so in
Safi.
all his shows and his movies, he's always bumbling, and he is doesn't have any confidence, and he will say the wrong thing, or
well, hopefully he was better than Lon Chaney. Right, Safi?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, like, hopefully someone that he dated, like, hopefully she didn't try to kill herself by pouring acid down her throat.
Oh. Yeah, there's a lot more to that than just this very false, superficial relationship that he has. I mean, they get married at the end, and
yeah,
I mean, it just doesn't.
How long did they even date?
Well,
like a week?
Yeah, and like, are you kidding? Are seriously?
I guess it's a small town, and I don't know.
I don't know, but it's.
She's like, I can never do better than him.
And it's like, it's very. You can't really take almost. You really can't take anything in this movie seriously.
I guess that's the fun of it, because like they could have made it make sense. Like they could have had it where, he does things to make her like him, and stuff like that. But no, like there's no relationship at all. It's just kind of like
they had lunch together once, and then dinner, another time, and I think they were both. Let's see, the lunch was at a diner.
And it was kind of like a failed lunch and I thought, I'll just go ahead and say that was my favorite scene in the movie, because I thought it was very funny and awkward, because she gets a table and there's this other guy sitting at the table.
This older gentleman.
And he's finishing up and he won't leave, and it's just
he won't leave until he eats his Jell-O.
Very awkward. And I thought that was really funny, and that was my favorite part of the movie.
And the other meal they have together.
What was your favorite? What was your favorite part, Safi?
Oh, I don't know. I think at the end, probably when
they get married.
When he gets not that. What happens is he gets sued by the owner, and the owner is the bad boy. The one who's related to he wants to tear down the house.
No, he's the worst character, because he was very, like, superficial.
And crap.
He wasn't that good.
Anyway, he takes him to court and sues him for libel, meaning he is accusing him of lying about the house being haunted. And so they all go tromping over to the house at midnight, and they can't, nothing, like before when Luther was there by himself, he threw his shoe at the bookcase and it sprung it open.
And that was the cliche that I talked about before, where in movies, like, someone just randomly throws an object somewhere and it opens up something. Like, this movie was kind of making fun of that when they did that.
But see, when all those people came there from court, he did the same thing and it didn't work. And then they go tromping up the stairs, which is, I think, the attic, and the organ is up there, and it does have bloodstains on it. That was from the murder. What happened was the wife was murdered by the husband, apparently, and then the husband was all bloody from it because he'd stabbed her with the garden shears. And then he played the organ, which he did all the time, it sounded like, from what other people said. But this was like a weird playing that didn't resemble any other playing of any other day. And then so he got
It actually did.
And he got blood all
Actually
over the
did.
keys. And so when they went up to the attic and it turned midnight, nothing happened and the organ didn't play. And so everybody thought he was a big fat liar and he's going to get fired.
Well, I guess you're not going to get to your favorite part, so I'm going to move on.
My favorite part is when he comes back, because he's the only one who hears it. Everybody else is gone. And he hears the organ playing. He's like, what the hell? And he goes back in the house, and he goes up there, and guess who's playing the organ? The janitor / gardener. And apparently there's something underneath the organ where you can play the organ from below it or something. There's a secret area. And then he had seen a
there's secret areas wherever the plot needs there to be secret areas.
They don't show it. And then, which I still couldn't figure it out what they were talking about. And then
I don't either.
The portrait of the lady.
He's really fat too, and so I don't know how he fit in that organ.
Luther had seen a bloody knife in the lady's portrait, fresh blood. At least that's what it looked like. And so the gardener / janitor admitted that he did all that. Why? I don't know, but anyway, guess who was in the house? Alma had sneaked back in the house. She found the secret staircase, and so had Mr.
God, she's going to keep doing it, guys. She's going to keep doing it.
Well, anyway, that's I liked it when he came back, and he was all excited because he heard the organ playing.
Finally.
But he was the only one, but then not really, because Alma was there and the gardener.
Okay. It took you like 10 minutes to explain what your favorite part is, so I don't really think it was that good if it took you 10 minutes to explain it.
Whatever.
Well, I would like to say that something that I really noticed about this movie is, they say that you shouldn't beat a joke to death. You shouldn't, because you're beating a dead horse, like what Safi likes to do a lot of the times. And, this movie is like the king of beating dead horses, because like how many jokes in this movie were just jokes that they repeated 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times?
Attaboy, Luther!
Or attaboy.
He said that about 20 times.
Yeah, and it's like, this joke is a good joke, but why do you have to do it like 10,000 times? Like, is it really that hard? Like, is it just because, like, you can't think of any other jokes, and so, like, oh, let's repeat that joke now? Like, especially what was really annoying was at the beginning with Clara, where she was like, and then it was like, bang! Right on the head! And she repeated that over and over and over and over again, and I was like, is this supposed to be funny? Like, that she's repeating this over and over again? Like, is that the comedy here?
Well, she was saying, too, the guy was murdered. And I'm like, how do you know that? Did you see if he was dead or knocked out? Because there was a 2x4 and she heard it. He got hit in the head with the 2x4.
Her scream was really hilarious, though. She really screamed.
A great scream.
Yeah.
Actually. And so, and then when Luther goes to report it, he just says this thing, do murder and calm go together? And
then he repeats that a second time.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was, you don't have to repeat a joke over and over and over again.
And then the guy who got hit in the head, which I didn't notice at first, but he walks into the police station, it's Otis.
Yeah.
I don't know, was that his wife?
It might have been, and they're like,
hit him in the head with the 2x4.
Throw him in the drunk tank. Like in the Andy Griffith Show, stupid. But like another joke that they kept on repeating over and over. Well, actually, let's go through 2 jokes, 2 or 3. One of them was the old women. They're talking about how they used, and I don't know, Safi, have you ever used Bon Ami?
Is it a cleaner?
Yeah.
Because I've seen it, I don't know if I've used it.
They joked over and over and over again that like they couldn't get the blood off the organ, and they even used Bon Ami, and it's like, who cares? Like, why is
maybe that's what people use? That's like maybe a precursor to comic.
What the hell is Bon Ami?
I think it was in a pink container. I'm not sure.
Bon Ami
or red and blue. I'm not positive.
That was a weird joke. And so another joke that they did over and over was they talked about the old women. They talked about, or they were like blessing Luther, a.k.a. Barney. They kept on saying, Caro, Caro, Solomon. They were chanting that over and over.
I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah, here it is, Bon Ami.
I call it Bon Ami.
Look, someone at some Walmart, they rated it 1 out of 5. So
no, I don't think it's that good.
I guess it's not very good.
People used Comet.
Bon Ami was discontinued in 2022.
Oh.
We have no remaining inventory. It will not be replenished because it just sucks. So that's Bon Ami. If you guys are interested in using the cleaning powder that they referenced in this movie, like, you think they paid for them to reference that over and over and over again? They used Bon Ami on the organ.
I can't imagine they would use that hard cleanser on, wouldn't those be ivory keys?
Yeah. So they did that a lot in this movie, just repeating jokes over and over and over again. And this movie really looked like an Andy Griffith Show episode too. Like, every single set looked like something you'd see in an Andy Griffith Show episode. So it just kind of pisses me off even more.
And they could have said they could have made it Mayberry. They could have said this is really Mayberry.
No.
They made it into Rachel, Kansas.
Yeah. What's Rachel, Kansas?
I don't know if there's any such thing.
Well, that's not where In Cold Blood was.
No, it wasn't.
You know, that would have been funnier if he had to go to the house from In Cold Blood. No. And instead of, like, a ghost being there haunting him, it would be Truman Capote playing pranks on him. Right, Safi?
Oh, that sounds really bizarre. I can't even imagine.
Like Truman Capote dressing up as a ghost and going, yeah, I'm Truman Capote and this is what I talk like, yeah. Right, Safi?
Well, I don't think people were aware of how weird he talked. Anyway.
Really? Why?
Because it's just a different time where there wasn't enough information. It wasn't out there. Not like now. You can get anything in 2 seconds.
Well, I'm just saying, like, this movie should have been rewritten again because, like, I would say that it had an okay first 30 minutes or 40 minutes, and after that, it completely fell apart. You know, all the drama with him in the town of, like, he's named like what is he, like a hero of the town, or
he spends the night in the place, but then he gets scared. Does he even make it through the night? I don't think so. And then but they make him a hero, and then they have like a Luther Day. Yeah. And they have the band plays, and it's like 4th of July or something. He stands up at the bandstand. He gives this he's nervous. He doesn't like public speaking, and he says these weird things. And
no, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I didn't think he did. And then it did. And then,
I would like...
They have food and...
I would like to mention, too, because, you know, you didn't catch that there, is that, when he did that whole speech thing, that wasn't something that was really, like, original for this movie. That was, like, something that he did as, like, a comedy skit on comedy shows.
Oh.
Where because they have one where he's playing this nervous weatherman, and he's doing all the exact same things there. So basically it was just, like, copy and paste his stand-up comedy routine.
I see.
And they even had something else earlier in the movie where he was saying, like, you know, what do you get? Heartaches. Nothing but heartaches. And it's like, that's something he would say on the Andy Griffith Show, too. So, you know, again, it's like, I don't know what Don Knotts was thinking.
I would like to hear him talk in real life, just as Don Knotts. I know he's dead, but I mean, if there's any kind of recording of him to see.
Why don't you do a seance?
Because there's so many.
Why don't you do a seance?
No, there's so many things he's in where he's just nervous and he's not really confident of himself ever. And
he just always looks like he's suffering from stomach problems because he's so nervous from everything. Like he looks like he's like permanently like sickly.
he was in that sitcom later on. Was it Three's Company?
I don't know.
He played the landlord? No. I don't know. He's in a sitcom, and he was I think he was a landlord, and he may have been more, spoke like a more confident person than that. I did watch it a little bit. I didn't care for it, so I didn't really watch it. But I would like to hear him talk like he would do if you were talking to him in real life to see, is he like...
Well, I think that it would be fun to go to North Carolina.
Well, didn't he get Emmys? Didn't he win? I thought he won a couple of Emmys.
He might have.
For Andy Griffith, so wouldn't they have a recording of him accepting his award? Probably.
It would be fun to go to North Carolina to the Mayberry town where they have the Mayberry convention every year. And, you know, the actress who plays Velma Lou, she goes there every year, basically. And all you'd have to do is just ask her what he was like in real life if he talked like that. Because she goes there every single year.
Yeah, because he always has no confidence. And so you have this guy, and he really basically slid through the movie.
Yeah.
I'll put it like that, because he's nervous. He's scared. He does get pissed off, and it does get emotional. But a lot of times he's just like you would think of him. He's scared, nervous, unsure of himself, all the way through the movie. And even when they get married, which is like at the very end, almost like right before the end. The priest or preacher says, or justice of the peace says, "Okay, you can kiss her now, Luther, because he's too scared to do it." So,
well, that I think that the most cringeworthy part of the movie was there was this part where he was having breakfast at this border house that he was living at with all these other people, and these old women were talking about how, oh well. My daughter or my granddaughter, she got this dress pattern from this one store, and it has flowers that go across her bosoms. And she says it really quietly, like it's embarrassing and something you're not allowed to say. And then it was so cringeworthy. Don Knotts goes outside to talk to almond bread girl. Like, she's weird, Safi. Like, you know, because like I saw in real life, apparently she was blonde.
Really?
And I thought that was what was really hard for me to believe, was the fact that, like, I thought she should easily be brunette. She should not be blonde at all.
Like almost jet black hair.
And so it was really shocking to me to see that. But he was talking to her, and he repeated that. You know, it's another joke that they had to repeat a second time. And it was really hard for him to say to her that a woman had a dress with flowers that went across her bosoms. Like, that's really tough to say.
He could have said across the front of her.
Across her chest.
Or the front. And just, I mean, what is that so hard? Because she was wearing a dress from the same place. And that's why the ladies were talking about it. So, anyway, well, I think we've talked about it enough.
Well, I would just say in general, like, it's a mildly enjoyable movie.
Yeah, it's nice. It's pleasant, and I think it's pretty entertaining. It's, you know, it's satisfactory.
Yeah.
Satisfactorily entertaining.
It's like a rainy day type of movie.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, it's really crappy out today. Let's just watch this movie in the afternoon and or spin a wheel and just pick from a random movie and have this be one of the random movies. Right, Safi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was, out of the other Don Knotts movies I've seen, Well, I just saw the Incredible Mr. Limpet one just recently, and it's a lot better than that. And you didn't have all of the characters from, Leave It to Beaver, Andy Griffith's show. Well, there was that one character.
And I really like seeing him. I really like that actor, Judd from Leave It to Beaver. Well, actually, I think he was also in the Andy Griffith show where he would just sit there and play checkers on a wheelbarrow or on a barrel, not a wheelbarrow.
Probably in the barber shop.
Around there,
or in front. Yeah. So, what do you give it as a food review?
Well, I thought that this movie, it deserves kind of a in-the-middle review. It deserves an in-the-middle food. And when I think of foods that are in the middle, I think of foods that I don't really like to eat anymore, or I don't eat them very much, because why would you? Because, like, if you know how to make something better, or if you know how to have better food, then why would you eat that crappy, lesser food unless you were forced to? And something that I used to eat a lot as a kid was beefaroni. And canned Chef Boyardee beefaroni. And I love beefaroni. I think that it's great, but why would you want to have beefaroni when you could make like homemade like beefaroni type of a dish? Or you could make bolognese or something like that. That's what the Andy Griffith show is. Why would you want to have canned beefaroni? And
right.
Don Knotts' movies, they're horrible. They're really bad. Like, I've only seen 2 other ones. There's this one.
Something about the West.
There's this one where it's a Western,
yeah.
And he goes to this Western town to be a dentist. I mean, that's like a horror movie. I mean, Wild West Dentistry. Ooh. That is scary.
Yeah, it sure is. Because they didn't know anything.
No. And
I can't even imagine what could have happened either.
That sounds like a death, torture.
Yeah.
And then he also did this stupid movie about going to outer space, and it's on accident, and it's just stupid. It's like, it's really, really dumb. I hate his movies so badly. But this is the only one that I can stand. But, we haven't seen all of them. Like, we could technically watch all of his movies, but
I don't know if I could take that.
That would be a nightmare, because it would be very depressing to be like, he made this, and he didn't make Andy Griffith's show. And he even knew it. He realized it, because he tried to, like, be on Andy Griffith's show more than he was, and they wouldn't allow him because he was in the contract.
Yeah.
So.
And I gave it a bowl of chicken noodle soup.
Yeah.
Just a bowl of chicken noodle soup, maybe even from a can, because they went to the diner, and remember I told you that was a meal. He ate with Alma, and he had to stand up because he couldn't sit down because that man was there eating his Jell-O. So that's what I gave it, just a bowl of chicken noodle soup, because it was pretty plain. So anyway, that's it. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers, and tell us what kind of ghost movie you would see or you have seen that you would like to share with people. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.